Humour, organ music. Humour, organ music. I know what you're thinking, it's going to be a short video, right? Well, yes, I'm not going to bombard you with information, but there's a surprising amount of organ repertoire that can, at the very least, evoke a little smile. And as organists, we can be funny, promise. Look, here's a joke. Why can't skeletons play in church? Because they have no organs.
Pipe down.
Yeah, okay, that joke was a bit corny. Okay, don't worry, I'm not that out of touch. I know that organ music is an acquired taste, and it's never going to have anyone rolling around in the aisles. It obviously doesn't carry the same comedic weight as, say, someone getting hit in the face. That's pretty great. So in the absence of any belly laughs on the part of the listener, and bearing in mind the average organ recital audience member, I'm going to settle for the following reaction. Are you ready? So now the criteria is set, I can say welcome to episode 4 of Chiff Chat, probably everyone's 12th or 15th favourite YouTube show about niche organ topics. Today we're going to take a brief look into the world of funny organ music and see what we can find. It feels more fitting to say that most of the pieces here are more witty than slapstick, but as long as it fulfills the sniff test, I'll give it a pass. Here we Lara go! Immediately when I mention the words funny organ music, some of your minds may have jumped to the obvious choices. Sortie in E-flat by Louis Lefebvre-Belli, an intentionally ridiculous march that was designed to be a bit tongue-in-cheek to see how far he could push the boundaries of good taste when it came to appropriate church music. On the same lines, we've got the March of the Kings by Théodore Dubois, a piece sometimes played around Epiphany. Here we've got the added gimmick of having the star in the sky that led the wise men to baby Jesus represented by a long-held bee, which goes throughout the whole piece, admirably performed by my glamorous assistant in purple in this video. But, I don't know, to me this is kind of anti-humour. The umpar nature of these pieces are enjoyable for a bit, but it's a bit of a cheap laugh. The musical equivalent of someone getting hit in the face. That's just swell. Obviously, humour is subjective, but let's take a look at a genre that, by its very title, is specifically designed to be light and not taken too seriously. That's right, I'm talking about scherzos. I always get a little suspicious around anything calling itself a scherzo. Even just by telling the audience it's meant to be a funny piece, it creates either the expectation of a good punchline or the pressure to entertain with the style. With that said, most of the scherzos I got my ears around were perfectly charming pieces. There are some brilliantly creative examples by Bairstow, Whitlock, Duruflé, to name a few. And some even made me crack a smile because I was enjoying the music. But I'd struggle to say I was holding my sides at them. But then again, maybe that's not the point. This probably had to pass for humour 50 or 100 years ago, as audiences didn't have instant access to videos of people getting hit in the face.
Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, because Scott Sterling's face has entered the building! Take a gander at this replay! The angle at which Sterling deflects the ball off his skull is nothing short of perfection!
Right, we'll move on in just a minute, but I'm positive I can find an organ joke that will land. There's this slightly blue one from Classic FM. Why did J.S. Bach have so many children? Because he didn't have any organ stops. I think I get what they're trying to get at here, but it needs a bit of work. The other ones I've found online must have just been written by someone with a vendetta against organists. Listen to these. What do you call a successful organ player? A guy whose wife has 2 jobs. What does an organ and a baseball have in common? People cheer when you hit them with a bat. What's the difference between an organ and a trampoline? You take your shoes off before you jump on a trampoline. I mean, come on, these are so unfair. There must be one that's more relatable. Okay, here we go. There was once an organist who dreamt he was playing in Westminster Abbey. When he woke up, to his horror, he found that he was. Oh yeah, we've all been there. Okay, let's think about all the ways you can evoke a humorous mood with organ music. You can have fast-moving pieces that sound really impressive and leave audiences trying to catch their breath keeping up, like the Scherzo by Enrico Bossi. You can have pieces with mutation stops that sound a bit unconventional. Equally, chromatic language is often used hand in hand with weird-sounding stops as a method of intriguing the listener and creating complex layers of meaning. Louis Vierne was the master of this, and here's his colourful fou follet. You could have a mixture of all of the above, but I'd argue that the strongest tool in the arsenal is just the element of surprise, of subverting preconceived expectations. This can either be when a piece of music is written in a conventionally un-organ-like way, for example, Miroir by Ad Vamash. Or it changes halfway through into something conventionally un-organ-like, for example, Mozart Changes by Zsolt Gardonyi, which starts off as a pastiche of a late 18th century keyboard sonata. Before Oscar Peterson slides on the bench and you're transported to a smoky underground jazz club. Alternatively, humour can be discovered in the way the music is projected, and by that I mean the way the performer perhaps manipulates the timings of placements of notes. For example, here's the toccata in C from 5/6/4, played with quite a straight bat. And here it is played with a slight bit of rubato in order to play chicken with what the listening ear expects. In this case, the way the music is performed and expressed holds the lion's share in influencing the listener's emotional connection with it. For me at least, jokes usually work because of a pithy punchline, and that's obviously harder to deliver over the course of a longer piece of music, which is why I think the key to humorous organ music lies in experiencing the unexpected, or experiencing the familiar in a new, inventive, unexpected way. Okay, I'm going to tell you what I think the funniest piece of organ music is, but first, I think I found the best organ joke on the internet. I don't think you're ready for this one. Here we go. One day, an angry reverend found out that his pipe organ had been stolen. He was so angry because it had
60 ranks
and about
3,660 pipes.
He got his shotgun and found the thief with the console, the pipes, and everything else in his truck. The reverend points his gun at the thief and says, "You stole my organ, give it back." The thief says, "I didn't take your kidney," as he hides and kidney in a bag behind his back. The reverend then sees a scar on the right side of his body. He looks at the thief, puts his gun up to the thief's chest and says, "You stole my pipe organ, die or pay, son." And then in brackets, die payson. To the untrained eye, that joke might appear absolutely dreadful, but it's in fact complete genius. The totally necessary world building of telling us how many pipes the organ had, the not at all superfluous addition of the red herring when it turns out the thief had actually harvested the priest's bodily organs, and the sparkling wordplay of die or pay son. I love it. Right, okay, enough messing about. So, to my mind, the funniest piece of organ music is Phantasmagori by Jean Alain. Now, Jean's sister, Marie-Claire Alain, didn't actually include this piece in the original edition of her brother's organ works, presumably because it was just too funny. So, why do I think this is the funniest piece of organ music? Well, let me explain, because as we know, nothing speaks to a joke's success more than painfully dissecting it and explaining exactly why it's funny. So, the whole piece revolves around this ostinato. We hear that twice on 16-foot pitch, meaning you play it at one octave and it sounds an octave below. So Alan is already messing with the player. Then the left hand joins in with a different key signature, playing, on paper at least, below the right hand, but in fact at 4-foot pitch, giving an almost mutation effect to the original line. Then the feet join in, not just in a third key signature, but also in a different meter. The hands continue to play in 4/4, but the feet are in 3/4, so talk about keeping multiple plates spinning. Oh, also the registration for the feet is 4 foot and 2 2/3, so once again you're not really hearing the notes you're playing. That section finishes and we get 8 bars of this little hobby horse melody, which Alan seems to have magpied from himself. Sounds a bit like litanies. After that, it's back to the A section again with a slightly different pedal part. He's now been nice enough to have each foot playing a different rhythm. Thanks. Then we get the same B section as before, but with an extra note to really make the harmonic overtones scrunch together. Curiously, this is only 6 bars long as opposed to the 8 we had before, almost as if he forgot he'd already used that material before and apologises to the player by cutting it short. Another repetition of the A section here, but with subtle differences. The right hand has moved down an octave, widening the gap between the two hands and giving that uncanny valley feel. I'm just going to pause the video now and let you take a wild guess as to what happens next. Is it option 1, another A section, because why not? Option 2, another B section, but modified in some way? Or option 3, something totally off the wall and unexpected? Yeah, it's option 3. Obviously it's option 3. Now we get 4 bars of something no one asked for, repeated C minor chords on 16 and 8-foot reeds. No melody, no variation, just C minor chords. Okay, now for the bit that I think is total genius. That C minor section overlaps with the start of a new 4-bar phrase, so Alan doesn't just shift the melody along by a beat, but he deletes one whole beat and hopes you don't notice. It's incredibly subtle, but I just find it so funny, and I probably need to get out a bit more. Now we've readjusted the meter, he goes and messes it up once again by having the pedal play in octaves in 3/8 against the hands in 4/4. This is so difficult to get coordinated, by the way. Finally, on the last page, we get the left hand alone, still just on a 4-foot stop, but the right hand, still on a 16-foot stop, still has a bit to say, so interrupts at random points, creating this real wonky-donkey effect. How do you end a piece like this then? Well, if you're Alan, you create a totally electric dissonant chord that cleverly fuses together all the harmonic overtones that we've heard throughout the piece so far. Then you draw a picture of a cow with no face rolling down a hill. Obviously. Hey, thanks for watching my video. If you want to hear something really funny, I'm now on TikTok, so you can follow me there at Organist. Alright, one more joke before we finish. How do you get £1 million? Start off with 2 million and try to make a living playing the organ.